Hello, my little nightmares. It is me, Queen Nightmare, and welcome back. I was contacted by the people from Web Novel, and I was and they liked my stories on my Wattpad. If you haven't seen it, I've read them before. They're my creepypasta fanfiction. I don't know if they're talking about my novel, so I actually asked them which stories are they talking about because I read other people's stories, so I wanted to make sure about that. But anyways, we're starting a new, someone's contacting me on Wattpad. What's going on? Oh my gosh, they texted me 4 times now. I'm sorry, but I'm doing something. Oh, this is not gonna be good. It's called Fix It Now. Exclamation point. By 4 Private Drive HP. Or is it I'm an idiot. Because I didn't understand it, I called it private. It's 4 Privet Drive. Harry Potter, HP, as they have it. I'm sorry, I'm just having a day. Chapter 1. We thought it was a good idea. Oh, jeez. It always starts out like this. So at the time, a book full of magical costume ideas seemed like a good idea. It was October 31st and the night of the Halloween dance at Hogwarts. Let's dive into the story, shall we? I had an itch on the eyeball. All right, how about this? Ron's jaw dropped open as the whole dorm burst into laughter. Harry had jumped out from behind his bed as a monstrous tangle of bedsheets that he tried to tie like a toga. Keyword, tried. He pouted as he caught sight of Seamus wheezing in his red-faced. Next to him, Dean, who was busy hyperventilating, who was too busy to make sure he could catch his breath. He turned to Neville, hoping for support, but Neville was doubled over, tears streaming down his face as he laughed. His eyes swerved to Ron, who had recovered from his shock and just started laughing. "All right, you lot," he snarled. "Stop laughing at me." His command was either unheard or ignored, because the laughter continued for 7 straight minutes. "Are you done?" Harry snapped, evidently not very threatening to Seamus, who wheezed. You call that a toga? Shut up, Seamus. Why'd you wait till the last minute? Anyway, were you a pumpkin? Hey, don't be mean. I'm trying to help. Help my arse, Dean. Why did you wait? Well, me and Ron were going to go ourselves, but maybe rip up our robes a bit. When Hermione came and told Ron she got them a couple of costumes. Sorry, mate. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. Horror style. My gran read that play. Harry sighed and slunk behind the bed again, throwing on his robes. Go as food like us. Someone, Seamus, he thought, shouted, peeking his head out from the behind as he shrugged his clothes on. He eyed Seamus, Dean, and Neville. Dean was dressed in a large, round orange costume, a green stem attached to his head. Oh, I think that's kind of funny and cute. Eventually, a pumpkin. What? Oh, I thought they actually meant he was in an orange costume, not just the color orange. I thought he actually meant the orange, like the food. Evidently, a pumpkin. Seamus was a cucumber, and found it funny to paint his face green as well. And Neville was an oval-type watermelon. Dressing up had apparently been a Muggle thing. However, McGonagall thought it'd be a brilliant idea. So Hogwarts' first ever Halloween costume party was in play. Seamus, Dean, and Neville thought they had the best costumes, and Harry didn't know if he was just sour about his own costume dilemma, but he didn't fancy being an asparagus. I can't go without a costume because, he asked, finally stepping out. Because it's lame. Harry rolled his eyes, turning to Ron, who was busy digging through something. The rest of the boys realized as well, and Neville piped up. Hey, Ron, what are you doing? Ron finally stood up and turned around, holding a large book in his hands. Uh-oh. Oh, every horror movie starts with this. Aha! Before Hermione picked our costumes, she lent me this book to search for more suitable ideas. Then the ones Harry and I picked. Harry glanced at it warily. It's safe. When has Hermione failed us? True, she's failed herself with the hare and the cat problem. So that's why all the other boys hunched over the book, trying to find them something for Harry to wear. Harry wasn't allowed to look, because apparently he needed to stand in front of them, so they could figure out the best costume for his physique. And we need to get something smaller. And Nate, you're short. Deal with it. And we are not trees. And stand there so we can find something flattering. Now, they were throwing out such ridiculous ideas that Harry wondered if his toga wasn't that bad. He only noticed that they were quite quiet, and at first he thought silent. No. They were whispering. A few giggles could be heard. A sense of foreboding was creeping up on him as he strained to hear. He'd go through it. We could, He looked it. Say. Literally all that he could hear. Then they stopped and nodded. Harry immediately took 2 steps back. I can wandlessly hex you, he warned. What are you going to do? We found a costume. Seamus was too cheery. Guys, And when he was on the floor wrestling with Seamus, who was way too tall for his own good. This is not fair fight. Later, laughter was so loud above him that Harry hoped they'd be too busy giggling to do anything. No such luck. So that was how he found himself standing next to a pumpkin, a cucumber, a watermelon, and a blood-covered Romeo and Juliet. Unfortunately, he was standing there with a black, fuzzy, pointed cat ears on, a long black tail sticking out from above his rump, and whiskers drawn on his face. Suddenly, Hermione had banned him from cursing them until tomorrow because of the party. He was fuming. Don't be upset, Harry. You look adorable. And that was the wrong thing to say to Harry. Wrong thing to say when Harry turned and is that supposed to be growled? Or glored at her? Or glared? I don't know. Anyways, growled at her. She quickly opened the door inside, and he followed with his arms crossed like a petulant child. The ears and tail had been charmed to stick, because that's a thing now. And the whiskers were quite wobbly, as they had been drawn on while he was pinned down. The rest of the party went like a party did. Harry didn't think about his parents. He turned his trusty wand on anyone who asked to pet him or called him adorable. He had to yank his tail out of Seamus's hands multiple times. He fixed his crooked glasses, and then the ears and tail were tingled. So he left and demanded the boys fix him. And here they are. What do you mean it won't work? I mean, Ron brandished his wand, I'm using the counterspell. It isn't, coming undone. Oh dear, Hermione's small mumble was heard. Let's try this. Ron and Dean stepped out to Harry and Neville, to Harry, and Neville stepped behind. I don't know. And then he screamed because it bloody hurt. The next 20 minutes were spent with spell after spell after spell being cast on Harry. The whiskers came off. His tail and ears did not. They pulled, they charmed, they cursed, they poked at them. It wouldn't work. Harry was panicking, to say the least. All right, stop! The boys paused in the middle, trying a switching charm on who knows what, and the ears. I need to clarify what we're dealing with. So, we'll experiment. Harry groaned. Seamus cackled. Dean winced. Neville gave a sympathetic pat on the back. And Ron was very scared for what Harry would do to him if he couldn't get the ears and tail off. Oh, just you wait, boy. I would kill you too, and I wouldn't blame him. Okay. Well, what is it? Chapter 2. The next hour was spent with Hermione prodding and casting spells on him. All the while, Harry begged not to go to Mrs. Pomfrey, for his pride's sake and the hope it would just come off, or wear off. All right, let's talk. The group stood around in a cluster, Hermione still staring at Harry. I wanted to observe because I wasn't sure what this was, she began, but Harry's eyebrows furrowed, and he interrupted. What do you mean? It's obviously 2 cat ears and a tail, he spoke, not bothering to keep the anger out of his voice. Well, yes, but I didn't know why. The first problem would be why they can't be removed. If it was a simple sticking charm, then the counter should have worked. What are you saying? I'm saying something that could be important to your predicament. Did I say you? Predicament. There you go. But if you want to keep stopping me, by all means go ahead and get a collar on while you're at it, she huffed. Eventually, annoyed with him, he winced, showing his apologies. As I was saying, we've established something is wrong with how they are attached. Ooh. But what intrigued me was what you felt. At everyone's frowns, she elaborated. If someone sticks something to your skin and pulls it, it hurts. That's why I wasn't quite worried when the boys yanked it onto your accessories. And you yelled. Now that I have seen this, I am, because not only I think, oh my, Harry, I think I know what's wrong. As we knew you would. Now, please, Hermione, tell us how to fix it so Harry doesn't commit a murder or fall. She rolled her eyes, but answered nonlessly. Nonetheless. There you go. I've never seen that written out before. I think that's my first time. I'll explain to try and soften the blow. Harry growled. If this is a result of a poorly done sticking spell or a botched sticking charm, I'm sure most of the spells I casted would work to remove it. I even tried magic that should try to fix simple botched spells. Even so, the ears and tail would unstick in less than a day. The magic would wear off, so to speak. I read about it once. Magic is always about intent. We all knew that. The boy's intent wasn't to make you a cat or have these permanently. No matter how badly Ron cast the spell, it would come undone when the intent seemed to be filled. You going to the party. The time you spent in the costume should have fulfilled the intent of the charm. So if it was a small mistake, I'm sure they would have come off by now. Even if the intent wasn't time-based, something like sticking charm would wear off. The magic would be undone by at most 24 hours. I doubt that's the case, though. She shifted nervously, now. Harry, the ears and the tail have done something I've never seen before. They are, how do I say this, a part of you. You feel things. You simply poke them and you feel it. If I stroke your tail, you would feel it. It isn't pain from the sticking charm. They have melded themselves to you. That's the thing I can't understand. The body's complicated. I can't see how the ears are able to connect to your nervous system, nor the tail. You don't have... If I'm heavy breathing, I am also going through some things with my respiratory problems. I'm going on the drops for my allergies, so that is trying to make me more resistant to everything. So if I it's me trying to read at the same time. I'm sorry. You don't have cat hearing per se, but Harry, your tail is moving right now. It's swaying. Much less your brain can send instructions. They aren't just sensitive. The room was silent. You could have heard a pin drop. There's good news and there's bad news, Hermione continued tentatively. They were placed by magic, so there's only two things that could happen in my theory: that the ears and tail were melded themselves. To be a part of your body is correct. Your body could attack the unknown magic. If it recognizes the foreign magic, or even if your own bodily function recognizes something not meant to be there, you can fight it. Bad news, and the other option is, I see that chance being slim. If your magic and body allowed it in, I'm not sure if it will see it for what it is, or if it will fight it at all. They might just stay there. Now he's going to commit mass murder. Silent again. Harry sat down in his chair. On his bed. Where did I see chair? On his bed, and closed his eyes, thinking of his newly contained information. No one spoke until Seamus broke the unofficial silence. Game being played. So if I... And then Harry felt a hand scratch behind his ear. He almost turned and batted the person's hand away as he tensed, but the hand stroked up and down before scratching again. Harry hummed and appreciating the distraction from being told he was going to look like a cat hybrid forever. Cat? Forever? His eyes shot open, and then the laughter begun. Dean informed him matter-of-factly that he could indeed purr. Harry wondered what the sentence of Azkaban was for murder. And the next day was going to be hell. Ooh, I would love to see what happens. Ooh, that would be a joy. Woo! Yes. I would love to be that elf on the shelf right there and then. Oh, mass murder? Let's get me this on YouTube. Gets a lot of hits. Chapter 3. Wait, how long is this? Yeah, I can do another one. Chapter 3. Kitty. Kitty! Monsters Inc. Love you. The next day, Harry woke up to Seamus stroking along his tail. And though at first it just seemed to give a lesser version of the pleasure he felt when someone scratched his ears, he couldn't fail to notice that his problem was not morning wood, and was actually the result of whenever Seamus touched the base of his tail, which led to Harry making a noise very similar to hissing, which led to Seamus laughing so hard he cried, which led to Seamus walking with a limp for the rest of the day. Harry was still ignoring Ron, and last night he had only spoken to Hex the whole only spoken to him to Hex the whole dormitory. But Ron had gotten the brunt of it. Harry was furious. He kept adapting cat-like instincts. The urge to climb something high last night was unbearable, simply because he was distressed. Harry was distressed almost on a day-to-day basis. He couldn't keep grabbing on a broom every time he was angry. He ignored Ron as they got dressed, and even managed to convince him not to be guilty when he watched Ron wince walking over to the portrait hole. Yes. The three reached the Great Hall doors just before the breakfast was ending. The plan had been to dash in most everyone when most of everyone else had left. Grab something and dash. It backfired, as now everyone got an eyeful of Harry walking to the Great Hall. Harry's face was flaming, and Hermione grabbed his hand in silence and a silent reassurance. Before they could push the doors open and grab toast and bolt out again, ignoring the broken gasps from the few left in the room, the trio ended up being called to McGonagall's office, not 7 minutes later. I understand you three are not prone to look for adults' help, nor have you learned to ask or expect it. But please tell me, if one of my students have sprouted a cat ears and tail, her lips pursed. Now, when did these appendages come into play, Harry? I know you went as a cat last night, but was not aware you wanted it to become a regular thing, she stated, and merely raised an eyebrow when Harry growled at her. He sighed. I didn't even want to go as a cat last night. My friends, if you can call them that, he narrowed his eyes at Ron, and McGonagall cleared her throat. I understand you're upset, Harry, but please start the story. Right, he started reluctantly. So last night I ended up without a costume. Ron and Hermione ended up going together, you see. I was going to go anyways, but my dorm mates decided I had to have a costume. They decided a cat was a perfect choice, and I didn't even want to go as that. They ended up having to hold me down, and they attached the tail and ears. The whiskers were drawn. I went to the ball and came back, and they couldn't get them off. Well, hold on, Harry, Hermione interjected. You're forgetting a few things. Oh? Yes, the boys found the costume from a book I found in the library. It just gave a bunch of costume ideas and described the certain magical creatures were supposed to look like. Things in that manner. Wait. What magical properties does a cat have? Honestly, Ron, even rats can have magic in them. So can cats. Most people don't exactly buy cats for that though. Cats have quite a lot of ties to magical world. Anyways, the topic at hand here is Harry. I'm still not quite sure on how they attached them, but I was told it was a sticking charm. Later in the night, Harry informed us his costume was tingling, the ears and the tail, I mean. We went back to the dormitory, and Ron tried to counter curse, and they just didn't come off. She shrugged, a little hopelessly, and Harry couldn't help but notice that Ron turned sheepish at the words sticking charm. What did you do to me? Harry spoke slowly, his eyes narrowing. What do you... The spell, Ron. I've been friends with you for 7 years. You know what your tells are. I know what your tells are. Mr. Weasley. All right. It wasn't a simple sticking charm. The book had spells next to the description. We were sure they were harmless. We would just conjure the ears and the tail onto Harry and stick them on. You couldn't remove it without the specific counterspell for it, which was why no matter how many times Harry casted the counter for a normal striking spell, they wouldn't go off. I tried a specific counterspell 1,000,000 times already, and the ears and the tail wouldn't go away. Silence. So you mean to tell me, the headmistress began slowly, that you tried to use an unknown spell on an unwilling user? Oof, she says it like that. Oh, that hurts me. Hold on. You don't have to give him detention, headmistress. I dealt with him last night and can do perfectly fine today. Ron mouthed, I'm sorry. Harry ignored him. The meeting ran through all of their classes, first class, potions. Nobody complained. Yeah. That's like the science of... I can't have a lot of science. My science sucks sometimes. Before they'd come to an end. Finished going through all the details, they thought Ron was probably laughing so hard at the time that the spell was mispronounced, which meant that they came to a slightly more hopeful ending to this deduction. They figured if there was a counterspell to original casting, they would find a counterspell to the modified version, or modify the counterspell as well. If that didn't work, McGonagall agreed with Hermione. They'd have to wait for Harry's body to attack the unknown additions to his nervous system, or wait for Harry's magic to attack the foreign magic. Ron and Hermione insisted on staying with Harry as he missed the first half of the day being subjected to testing. He only stayed sane by thinking of all the ways he could curse Ron. They found out Harry's hearing was currently split 75-15% between his real ears and his cat ears. Madame Pomfrey thought it would stay that way. If not, splitting up a little more to 70-20 at most. Harry was relieved most of his hearing came from his actual ears. The ears and the tail were in fact linked to his nervous system. They could move and react as such. When someone yelled in his cat ear, they twitched violently. If someone tugged on his tail or ears, they hurt. Petting and or scratching his ears would result in a very, 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 very Harry, I know you're upset, but it's actually quite noticeable, very soft purring. That was in, friggin' A. What are they called? Parentheses. Okay. I was going to say parabolas, and I was like, that's a science thing, stop. Very soft purring. Doing that to his tail would result in the same, but impossibly softer. I scratched at the base of his tail, seemed to send spikes of arousal through his body, much like the actual cats. He didn't actually have that many cat instincts. When distressed, he went to be up higher, which was actually already... Okay, I need to ask something. Oh. Is this actually a Drarry? That's what I'm asking myself right now. Okay, go to the... Yes, it's a Drarry. It says it is. If it's not, we have a problem, okay? Here we go. Doing that to his tail is a result, but impossible soft. A scratch at the base of the tail seemed to set spikes in. Yeah, I didn't actually have that many cat instincts. When distressed, he'd want to be up high, which was actually already a normal thing for Harry. What wasn't was the feeling of wanting to climb for it. He didn't seem any faster or agile, but he'd already been quite a bit of both. Benefits of a seeker position. Landing easy was not happening, and he was still just as clumsy. The second half of the day was stare after stare, whispers, pointing hands. Ron glared at everyone who started to approach, defending Harry, even after having to be healed by Pomfrey. It was all fine. Well, it was as fine as it could be, until Harry had shaken off his friends flanking him and was concerned by one person in particular. Draco Malfoy. Do you ever want to shoot an ad or your phone? I'm not that kind of mood right now. But, guys, thank you guys for watching. I haven't... Why am I so tired? It's only 9:33. What the heck? Okay. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, baby. I don't know if this is going to actually end in a Drarry. I don't know if they're done making this, because they did make it until June 24th, 2020. And then while I'm editing this, I'm going to see what that person was talking about who sent me 4 big messages that I didn't see. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked the video. Be happy, be healthy, and always be loving. Also, I wanted to say this to you, that if you ever are on Amino, you can always find me by Queen Nightmare. I have a picture of myself. It's a crying queen. That's all in blue. But if you ever want to contact me on there, I would love to hear from you guys. I also post a lot of memes. I'm a meme type of person, yeah.